Hello everybody. There's no intro to this video because much like season 2 of With Blood Megan, this episode 2 is really one part B. So if you want to see the intro, you're gonna have to watch the video before this. And with that, I'm just gonna get into it. We get into episode 2, where Chrissy Teigen's gonna come in. Meghan starts this episode making some sourdough starter. Again, like I said, she's super neurotic about her measurements. I understand that you need to have certain proportions of flour to water, but I don't think if instead of 113 grams of flour, she put 115, it would have really made a difference. And I'm not even sure that she picked up on this, but the idea that she doesn't like baking and she didn't really want to do the sourdough, like it was a daunting task for her because it takes time and attention for an extended period of time. I just thought that reminded me of something else that she couldn't give a lot of time to. I don't know what it could be. Maybe her career as a working member of the royal family. And then, of course, it also reminds me of every single project she has done since then, where it is just like, I can only focus on this for like a year. And I need to be doing entirely too many projects that I'm not putting any effort into, and then just discarding them immediately. So Chrissy Teigen comes in. We all know she's married to John Legend, so he's there. I don't think Meghan knew he was going to be there because when he comes into the kitchen, she's like, oh, I should have told H to come. So I don't think she knew John Legend was going to be there. This also was another awkward moment that I'm wondering why they left this in the show. He comes in, says hi to Meghan, gives her a hug, and then as he's leaving, he drops the smile and is just like, I'll just let you guys shoot. And he goes off into the other room.
Good. I would have told H to come. Thank you.
Beautiful up here.
Unless you're going to shoot.
Bye. Nice to see you.
And I'm like, I don't think he meant to have that stay in the show. Just like I don't think Christina Tozzi in the last episode thought that her picking food out of Meghan's hair was going to stay in the show because she wasn't really acting like she was on camera. So Chrissy Teigen and Meghan used to be suitcase girls on Deal or No Deal. I find this conversation interesting because, one, they don't have any shared stories. I don't even think Chrissy remembers working with Meghan. But what's more interesting is that Meghan has talked about her time on Deal or No Deal, where she said she felt objectified and really wasn't given a space to essentially show how smart she thinks she is. But it's like, you were a suitcase girl. What do you think the job is? Damn, you stand there, look pretty, open the suitcase. But in this episode, Meghan talks about her time on Deal or No Deal a little bit differently. She's like, oh my gosh, I was just so glad that I had healthcare. This is the episode where I also realize that it kind of annoys me that Meghan doesn't talk to the camera when she's having her solo moments, where she's making something on her own, and it kind of seems like she should be talking to the camera because she's showing you how to do something, but when she looks up, she always looks at the crew out of frame. I just think she would seem more personable if she spoke to us. And I do have to admit, I found something actually amusing. Meghan made a joke, and it made me go, So, in this episode, Chrissy and Meghan make these little pendants out of little metal frames with some resin and some flowers in them, right? One of the flowers they have is a hawthorn flower. For some reason, Meghan couldn't think of the word later, and the word that she came up with was Hansworth. She thought the flowers were called Hansworth, and she said it a couple of times, and then makes a joke with Chrissy that would be a funny name for a child. And then Meghan makes a joke that she and Harry have a secret child that they named Hansworth that nobody knows about. That's not the funny part. Is later at the end of the episode, Meghan is wrapping up some flowers. She's wrapping a little towel around the cut end of the flower stems. And Chrissy and Meghan say it looks like she's swaddling the flowers, like you would swaddle a baby in a blankie. And Chrissy just starts going, "Oh my gosh, I miss swaddling." And then Meghan just looks over at her and goes, "You can have Hansworth." It actually got out of me. Okay, moving on to the recipes and the crafts. Can you do them from watching the show? The sourdough, absolutely not. You get the first measurements of 113 grams of flour and 113 grams of water. And then you see that she feeds it over days, but she doesn't give you any tips or tricks for how to make a good starter, what kind of materials you should use for like the jar or the container that it's in, how big of a container should you have, things that people would want to know as a first-time starter maker, a starting starter maker. Meghan makes some boba Thai tea for Chrissy. Takes another opportunity to say that she used to hang out in Thai Town in Los Angeles all the time, so often. Just like I was in Koreatown all the time. My issue is, how do you spend that much time around Thai stuff and not know that Thai tea is not made with whole milk? So like Thai tea in Thailand is made with evaporated milk and condensed milk. In America, I guess some people use half and half, but nobody uses whole milk. Even Chrissy mentions when she gets there that she wants some condensed milk for her Thai iced tea. Meghan goes to get some condensed milk, and it's in a mason jar. I've watched a lot of cooking shows, and if there's something you usually get in a can, I know you don't want to do like product placement, but like, take the label off the can. Who has a jar of condensed milk? I just really don't like that whenever they do anything that would come in packaging that's already been repackaged into something that doesn't have a label and is aesthetically pleasing. It's really unrealistic. Meghan also doesn't mention what kind of tea she's using to make the Thai tea. And if you would actually like to make Thai tea, I'm going to suggest this video from Hot Thai Kitchen. Also, a really good channel for like all Thai food. This isn't the first time where she has taken a recipe that has cultural ties to a culture outside her own, and she kind of whitewashes them. She doesn't tell you anything about how these recipes are unique or special. What makes Thai iced tea different and so delicious? As much as I think Martha Stewart does not want to be compared to Meghan, it reminds me of the time somebody asked Martha Stewart what her favorite pad thai is. Like, where does she get the best pad thai in the world? And she said her own recipe. Okay, Martha. Then Meghan says we're going to make a tartine, which she doesn't really explain what that is. I'm pretty sure most Americans at this point have heard of crostini. I don't know how many people have heard the term tartine. I think the only difference is that crostini are little appetizer bites, and tartine are the French version, and it's usually like an open-faced sandwich, like a little bit, it's bigger. Nit to pick, when she said ricotta, she said it with an accent, but then she said, oh, I'm just saying it just like Giada. Her name is Giada, not Giada. Chrissy and Meghan are going to make some cheddar sourdough crackers. Do I think you could make this recipe from the show? Yes. Mostly because Meghan is taking it straight out of a recipe book. Like, it's on the counter, she's looking at it, reading from it, and she has exact measurements now. And I can understand being inspired by recipes, but you should probably tweak them before you're gonna put in a show that you make money from. Or at least share where you got the recipe from. Maybe it's a book other people want to buy. This episode has a couple of moments where Meghan's science doesn't seem to science. They roll out this cracker dough. They go to slice the individual crackers with what I would call a pasta cutter. It's also known as like a dual rotary cutter or a pastry cutter. And usually one has a straight blade and one has like a beveled blade. And Meghan says that using the beveled side to make ridges on the edge of your crackers allows them to lift off the pan when baking. I've never heard that, and it doesn't seem right, and I googled it and I can't find anybody else that says that. I don't know where she got that from. Also, they were trying to make them look like Cheez-Its, so Meghan gave Christy a little poking stick, and they called the hole in the middle a dimple, but it's supposed to be an actual hole, because one thing I do know about crackers is that you have to put holes in them strategically to let the steam out when they're baking so they don't get all puffed up. That's why crackers are flat. I don't think Meghan knows that. I mentioned earlier that Chrissy and Meghan made flower pendants that you could put on a necklace with like real flowers and resin. Do I think you could do this from watching the episode? Maybe. It seems to be a pretty straightforward process. The only questions I have are, what kind of resin? I know you said UV resin, but like, what do I need to know when I'm looking for the right kind of resin? Is there anything I need to know about working with resin, like safety-wise? And when they press the flowers, they use these plastic presses that you put the flowers in and then you throw it in the microwave. I've never seen those before. I'm imagining you could buy them online or maybe at like a craft store. It's just something I've never seen before. The last thing we're going to talk about is the rose water. I'm going to admit I watched both these episodes twice. I watched them once, just chilling on my couch. I watched them a second time to make my notes. This rose situation, I had to rewind and listen to what she said a few times because, again, her science isn't sciencing and I had to make sure she said what I thought she said. So, do I think you can make rose water from watching this episode? Yeah, but I wouldn't without Googling some precautions. Again, because I think this is something that Meghan has maybe done once or twice before and doesn't really have a firm grasp on, which, I'm sorry, when I watch these sort of lifestyle shows on like HGTV growing up, the people hosting the show know what they're doing. They've done it more than a few times. They understand the pitfalls you might fall into. They understand precaution you should take. They understand that you don't know how to find like the right products or ingredients or whatever, and they'll tell you how to do it. And Meghan doesn't do any of that. The best she does is say, if you can't get fresh roses, you can just get dried roses online or from a flower shop. I just want to say, there are 2 different ways you can use rose water. Topically on your skin or in food. If you're going to use rose water in your food, you need to use food grade roses. You also need to make sure that you're getting roses that don't have any chemicals or pesticides sprayed on them, because it will go in your rose water and it will be in the food that you eat or the spray you put on your face. I think Meghan's probably using petals from roses on her property, and she probably doesn't use pesticides, so she's fine. But she doesn't mention that these are things you should probably look out for. Also, kind of like with the bath salts in the first season, it's good to mention that some people's skin will have a reaction to rose water, and that you should patch test it before you start spraying it all over the place and eating it. But then we get into actually making the rose water. For some reason, she takes her dried petals and puts them in water for an hour to rehydrate them. But you don't really need to do that. Everybody else I saw online said you could use fresh or dried roses, right? But you just throw it in the pot with the water. And as it sits in the water, getting ready to boil, it will rehydrate. So that wasn't wrong, but it seemed unnecessary. Then we're going to get to the part that I had to replay a few times because she tries to explain the science of what she's about to do to make rose water. And she's almost there, but what she's saying is wrong. So this is very similar to the distilling process when you make alcohol and you want to remove some of the water to have a more concentrated alcohol drink. So what you do is you boil it, because water and alcohol have different boiling points. And you want to let the alcohol turn into a vapor and let it cool and collect somewhere else. We're doing something similar, but we want to keep the water and remove it from the particulate of the roses. What happens to water when the temperature increases to the boiling point? It's when it changes from a liquid to a vapor. The vapor floats around in the pot, hits the lid that is cold, right? So now, instead of being at the boiling point anymore, the temperature drops and it turns back into a liquid. And then it drops into that bowl in the middle where she collects all the rose water. What Meghan said is the steam will hit the cold lid, which will push it back down and be forced into the water. What? I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. And the worst part is after she says this thing that doesn't make sense, she makes this goofy smile gee, I'm just like Bill Nye the Science Guy. Sure, if Bill Nye the Science Guy just didn't know what he was talking about. Anyways, so those are all my notes for the first 2 episodes. I now have to spend the rest of my free time getting my notes done for next week's episode where I record with Cassie. we talk about Catherine, the Princess of Wales. I'm thinking that a lot of these issues and nits I had to pick in these episodes are going to be recurring if I continue to watch the rest of this half of a season. I think it might take too long for me to make my regular episodes and continue to cover 2 episodes of this at a time. So I think I'm going to watch the last 6 episodes and see what happens with my notes if they get too crazy. I really didn't expect to spend this much time on 2 episodes. But I think the show could be a lot better. Like, it is beautiful. I can tell somebody's talented working on this show. I don't know why nobody's told Meghan that she should maybe be explaining what she's doing. Explaining things you should know when you're doing whatever craft or recipe that she's making. I would think that would be an obvious thing to include. This is an incredibly frustrating show to watch because I don't know how I'm supposed to feel. I don't know if I'm just hanging out watching these people have a good time or I should be learning. Because if I should be learning how to do things, I shouldn't have so many questions. Anywho, I'm gonna get out of here. If you like this episode, give it a like. If you want me to do more or you don't want to hear about this show at all, either way, let me know in the comments. If you're new to this channel, feel free to watch some more of our videos and maybe you'll subscribe. I will see you all next week. Goodbye.